Welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle and this is a March Mystery Madness video. Before I get into today's video though, I need to tell you about the book that I found that fit the prompts from yesterday's video. The prompts were to find a book that was set in a hotel and had a professional detective. And so in the end, I decided to go with The Dead Mountaineer's Inn by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. And I'm going to put the picture here. I would like to find a copy of this book, but so far I've just read it from the library. Now this one is fascinating. It's been translated from the Russia by Josh Billings. And it was originally published in 1970. The English translation didn't come out until 2015. Boris and Arkady are a pretty famous Russian sci-fi duo, but they decided to try their hand at a good old classic Agatha Christie style mystery. But of course, they couldn't help not being themselves either. And so the sci-fi part of them does come out a bit in the book. It's just unique and awesome. I really, really enjoyed it. So Inspector Peter Glebsky, there's the professional detective part, goes on vacation at a remote ski chalet. There's the hotel part. Strange things start happening, then there's an avalanche and they all get cut off, so it's an isolated closed circle mystery, and then a corpse shows up. And so it was just super, super fun. So if you've never read The Dead Mountaineer's Inn, I highly recommend it. There's some fun genre blending there. It's a good classic closed circle mystery. Yeah, lots of fun. So today is National Let's Laugh Day, and that sounds like just the day for me. I love laughing. I love funny shows, funny movies, funny books. I have a pretty strong sense of humor myself, I would think. And so I wanted to recommend some humorous mysteries for you today. I have some recommendations of books that I've read and I've loved because they are funny. And then I also have some books that I'm not recommending because I haven't read them, but just books that I have found that are supposed to be humorous mysteries. So let's just dive straight into this. First, here are 3 from a series that I've discovered last year. This is the Verity Bright Historical Mystery Series by, these are the Eleanor Swift Historical Mystery Series by Verity Bright. And this is the first one, and I actually haven't read this one yet. I actually started with the second one. But the first in the series is called A Very English Murder. The second is called Death at the Dance. And the third is called A Witness to Murder. The first book that I read in this series was this second one, Death at the Dance. This is a historical mystery set in the 1920s in England. The main character is Lady Eleanor Swift, and she is someone who is kind of been a bit of an adventurer. She's lived in other places around the world. Her parents had died and she's kind of on her own. And then her uncle back in England passed away and the title and the house became hers, and so she had to come back to England. So this was the first one, like I said, and I remember when I reviewed this one that I wrote, I haven't had so much fun reading a mystery in a long time. And it's totally true that this series is really lighthearted and fun with really good mysteries, and I love the characters, but there were moments in here where I was laughing out loud. Lady Eleanor is a great character. She's funny. She doesn't take herself too seriously. She gets into these situations. And so these aren't funny all the time. There are funny moments peppered in, and the series as a whole is very lighthearted. Then I can also recommend the Maggody series by Joan Hess. This is also a series that I just find really, really funny. I will quite often laugh out loud at the situations in this series. So Joan Hess wrote, this is the Arlie Hanks is the main character. She's the chief of police in Maggody, Arkansas. And Maggody is a town of 800 people. And I think part of the reason why I find this so funny is that I have lived in a town of 800 people. And I understand kind of what that's like to live in such a small town. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody's business. And it's also, like, it's such, when I was growing up in a town of this size, it was such a community. Everybody took care of everybody else. And so I kind of get what it's like to live in that community. And Joan Hess writes it really well. So this is one in the series called murder@maggody.com. There are 16 in this series that were written between 1987 and 2010. And this is the very last in the series called The Merry Wives of Maggody. So this one is, again, they're good mysteries. Arlie Hanks is a good detective, but there's really quirky characters, funny situations. I love her relationship with her mom is entertaining. So yeah, this is a series that I would definitely call humorous. And then another new series I discovered last year. This is the Constable Twitten series by Lynne Truss. The first one is called A Shot in the Dark. The second one is called The Man That Got Away, and there's also now a third one out called Murder by Milk Bottle. These are set in Brighton in 1950, and I really enjoyed these as well. These are witty and funny, with really well-drawn characters. I liked the characters in this. I mean, of course, it's again, like, everybody's sense of humor is slightly different. So this might not be for you, but this was a sense of humor that totally worked for me. The characters were a bit over the top. It's a world where you kind of have to suspend your disbelief and just go with it, and I do. So Constable Twitten is this young police officer who really wants to do well. He's really smart, but he doesn't kind of understand how other people view him, as they view him as a bit of a smart aleck. When really he's just really smart and kind of just blurts things out. What's funny too is that you get this juxtaposition in this series between the touristy British seaside, because it's set in Brighton. You get that juxtaposition between that and the criminal underworld, which is really funny. I find really funny. So yeah, this series is really witty and hilarious, and so this might be a mystery for you to check out as well. And then another mystery that I read last year that I loved. There were moments where I laughed out loud, and that was The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. And I'm going to put the picture here. This was just a really fun reading experience. Again, it was like when I read the Verity books. It was just really, really fun. I laughed out loud, and the author, as far as the mystery goes in that one, the author cleverly laid a trap, and I fell right into it. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I read so many mysteries that I usually see the traps coming, and I didn't this time. And so I like it when an author can trap me, when an author can trick me. So this one is set in a retirement village. 4 unlikely friends meet weekly to discuss unsolved crimes. And then a crime happens in their retirement village. And it was just really fun. I liked the characters. They meet this young police officer who wants to do well and kind of climb the ladder in her position. And yeah, I just really, really enjoyed The Thursday Murder Club. And then another series that I find really funny is Janet Evanovich's Stephanie Plum series. There are 27 in this series so far, written between 1994 and 2020, and the 28th is slated to come out in November of this year. Stephanie Plum is a bounty hunter in New Jersey, and again, like, just the situations she gets herself involved in as a bounty hunter are really funny. Her co-worker, Lulu, is hilarious. Her grandma is really funny. So all of her family situations are also funny. So she's often at her mom and dad's house to do laundry or to go there for a meal. And her parents are just really funny. And her grandma is hilarious. So yeah, so the Stephanie Plum series is really entertaining as well. Okay, let's dive into some books that I found when I searched for humorous mysteries. This is by Catriona McPherson, and I really enjoy her Dandy Gliver series. That's set in Scotland. This one is called Scot Free, and it's the lighter side of the dark underbelly of the California dream. This came out in 2018. For Scottish-born marriage counselor Lexi Campbell, the American dream becomes a California nightmare. This is described on the back as funny and eccentric. So she left Scotland for California, married, built her marriage counseling practice, and then 6 months later she's divorced, broke, and heading home. Only client, sweet little old Mrs. Bombero, is in jail for murdering her husband with a fireworks rocket. So there you go. Fiction Can Be Murder by Becky Clark. This is a mystery writer's mystery. When life imitates art, it sometimes leads to death. This is also from 2018. Life becomes stranger than fiction when Charlie's latest novel inspires a real murder. Mystery author Charlemagne Charlie Rousseau thinks the twisty plots and peculiar murders in her books are only the product of her imagination, until her agent is found dead exactly as described in Charlie's new unpublished manuscript. Suspicion now swirls around her and her critique group, making her confidence drop as severely and unexpectedly as her royalty payments. So this is described on the back as funny by numerous reviewers, and I'm actually going to keep this one to read because this one sounds really good. And then for something totally different, this is Gangsterland by Tod Goldberg. This came out in 2014, and it is described on the back as a lot of fun, hilarious and incisive, infinitely readable, infinitely funny, dark, funny, and smart. The author's trademark wit. So there you go. A lot of the reviewers are saying that this one is funny. So in this one, you have a hitman. Sal Culpertine is a hitman for the Chicago Mafia until he makes his first ever mistake where he is forced to kill 3 undercover FBI agents, and he needs to save his own skin. So he undergoes plastic surgery and gets a new identity and reappears as Rabbi David Cohen, leading a growing congregation in Las Vegas. So there you go. If that's your style of humor. This is What Rose Forgot by Nevada Barr. This is from 2019, and it's been described as darkly humorous. So what's funny is when I first read the synopsis for this, I thought, why is this in a list of humorous books? But when I read some reviews, people were talking about situations in here that were really funny, and again, someone described it as darkly humorous. So you have Rose Dennis, who wakes up in a hospital gown, her brain in a fog, only to discover that she's been committed to an Alzheimer's unit in a nursing home. With no memory of how she ended up in this position, Rose is sure that something is very wrong when she overhears one of the administrators saying about her that she's not making it through the week. Rose is convinced that if she's to survive, she has to get out of the nursing home. Becoming more and more lucid, she devises a plan of escape. She goes back to her now abandoned house to hide while she figures out her next move. The only problem is, how does she convince anyone that she's not actually demented? With her memory shaky, how does she know she can even trust herself? but any lingering doubt that she's in real danger is erased when a would-be killer shows up in the middle of the night, proving that someone is determined to get rid of her. With the help of her sister Marion, a reclusive computer hacker, her 13-year-old granddaughter Mel, and Mel's friend Royal, Rose begins to piece together the fragments of her life, gather her strength, and fight back in order to find out who is after her and take back control. So this one also sounds really good. I'm going to be keeping this one to read for myself. And so again, if your type of humor is more of the dark side of humor, then this might be a book that you want to check out. The Spellman Files by Lisa Lutz. This was a recommendation from Daniel at Guilty Feet. When he talked about 5 recommendations for March Mystery Madness, this series was one of them, and he talked about how funny this series is. And so I decided to get it out of the library to check it out. I haven't read it yet, but I definitely will be reading it. This one is part of the Izzy Spellman series, and there are 6 in the series written between 2007 and 2013. I've read a book by Lisa Lutz called The Passenger, which was really good. That was a standalone. But Izzy Spellman is a private investigator, 28 years old, with a checkered past littered with romantic mistakes, excessive drinking, and creative vandalism. She may be addicted to Get Smart reruns and prefer entering homes through windows rather than doors. But the upshot is she's good at her job as a licensed private investigator with her family's firm, Spellman Investigations. Invading people's privacy comes naturally to Izzy. In fact, it comes naturally to all the Spellmans. If only they could leave their work at the office. To be a Spellman is to snoop on a Spellman. Tail a Spellman, dig up dirt on, blackmail, and wiretap a Spellman. Part Nancy Drew, part Dirty Harry, Izzy walks an indistinguishable line between Spellman family member and Spellman employee. Duties include completing assignments from the bosses, aka mom and dad, preferably without scrutiny, appeasing her chronically perfect lawyer brother, often under duress, setting an example for her 14-year-old sister Ray, who's become addicted to recreational surveillance, and tracking down her uncle, who randomly disappears on benders dubbed Lost Weekends. But when Izzy's parents hire Ray to follow her for the purpose of ascertaining the identity of Izzy's new boyfriend, Izzy snaps and decides that the only way she will ever be normal is if she gets out of the family business. But there's a hitch. She must take one last job before they'll let her go. A 15-year-old ice-cold missing person case. So yeah, this one sounds really good, and I'm really looking forward to getting into that. And then Carl Hiassen, I think. This is a novel called Squeeze Me. This is the 8th. This is in his, this is the 8th in his Skink series. There are 8 so far written between 1988 and 2020. This one is set in Florida. It is a hilarious new novel of social and political intrigue set against the glittering backdrop of Florida's Gold Coast. So it's Palm Beach charity ball season. And a prominent high society dowager suddenly vanishes during a swanky gala and is later found dead in a concrete grave. Panic and chaos erupt. So there you go. This is hilarious, pure, unadulterated, irreverent, ingenious, and highly entertaining. The author and the book perfectly captures the absurdity of our times. And then Christopher Moore. This one seems to me to be a genre blend between mystery and fantasy. This is Shakespeare for Squirrels. This is the 3rd in his Fool series and came out in 2020. It is described as a humorous, hard-boiled take on A Midsummer Night's Dream. So there you have that. He's got an uproariously unholy trio. Pocket, the hero of Fool and the Serpent of Venice, which are the other 2 so far in the series. His sidekick Drool and his pet monkey Jeff. Set adrift by his pirate crew, the indestructible Pocket of dog snogging, last seen in the Serpent of Venice, washes up on the sun-bleached shores of Greece and into deep trouble. And then also by Christopher Moore, we have Noir. from 2018. It's described as madcap and zany. San Francisco, summer 1947. A dame walks into a saloon. So this is his take on classic noir, and again, it's madcap, zany, funny. So if that's your style of humor, you might want to check out Noir by Christopher Moore. So there you have it. There are some recommendations and also just some looks at some humorous mystery of a variety of mysteries and a variety of styles of humor. Have you read any of these books? I would love to talk about them with you in the comment section down below. And also, I would love to have a recommendation from you of a mystery that you thought was really funny. Because everybody's senses of humor is different, and I enjoy learning about what other people find funny. And who knows, I might find it just as hilarious. So I'd love to have recommendations from you of mysteries that you found really funny. And before we go, it's time for another round of my M&M manuscript matchup game. So we will give the bag a shake. Here we go. Green, sweet. Green is time period. And blue gives us 1980 to 2000. All right. For the second one, we have red, which gives us location, where in the world. And orange gives us Central and South America. All right, so we need to find a mystery that was either written or set between 1980 and 2000 and is set in Central and South America. So remember, I'm going really broad here. So this includes Mexico and all the countries in South America, as well as the islands in that area. So Haiti and the Caribbean and all of that. So good luck to you, and let me know what book you find that fits those criteria. And I will see you for another video soon. Bye.